Since the promotion's early days, there have been some truly incredible UFC champions. Most greats are known for their skill inside the octagon, like George St-Pierre, but others are more revered because of the heart and never give up attitudes they displayed across their careers at MMA's top table, like Michael Bisping. Today, we're discussing the UFC's greatest former champions and what they're up to now. Stay with us. First up, it's many people's all-time GOAT, Anderson Silva. There was a time when Anderson Silva was the scariest man on the planet. Across the mid to late 2000s and early 2010s, he was untouchable and even went unbeaten for 7 years, from 2006 to 2013. During this time, he won the UFC middleweight title, defending it a mighty impressive 10 times. He did all this in an era which is fondly remembered for having some of the best middleweights of all time, including Dan Henderson, Vitor Belfort, and Rich Franklin. Nowadays, Anderson has taken to professional boxing, and would you believe it, he's pretty darn good at it too. Having dabbled with the sport earlier in his career, he decided to focus on the squared circle after his retirement from MMA, following a loss to Uriah Hall, who has also just retired. His MMA retirement was very much welcomed in the community as well. As legendary as he was in the octagon, he only won 1 of his last 9 fights, and nobody likes to see a former world champion turned into a punching bag. Anderson took on former WBC middleweight champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. last summer, scoring a split decision win, following that up with a first-round knockout of former UFC light heavyweight champ Tito Ortiz just months later. What is your favorite Silva memory? Next, we are talking Chuck Liddell. Liddell is arguably responsible for bringing the sport to the masses. During the mid-2000s, he was starching almost everybody, and with his iconic mohawk, as well as his well-documented rivalries with Rampage Jackson and Randy Couture, he was one of the most marketable sports people of the day. He won the UFC's light heavyweight title in April 2005 against Randy Couture, which was also voted Knockout of the Year. But following retirement in 2010, the former champ struggled with issues surrounding alcohol dependency. He briefly returned to the octagon in 2018 for a trilogy fight with Tito Ortiz, losing via KO. However, it hasn't all been doom and gloom for the Iceman, as he has forged a semi-successful movie career since retirement, appearing in movies like Drillbit Taylor, War Pigs, and Kick 2 along the way. Who is your favorite champ in UFC history? Michael Bisping is coming through next. Bisping shocked the world back in 2016 by knocking out middleweight champion Luke Rockhold to become one of the most popular champions in UFC history. Long regarded as a gatekeeper of the UFC's middleweight division, Bisping proved all of his doubters wrong, and also showed that with a little bit of grit and determination, anything could be achieved. He successfully defended against Dan Henderson, before unfortunately coming up against GSP for the Canadian's one and only comeback fight, which was reportedly just for him to prove to himself he could still do it. Spoiler alert, he could. Nowadays, Bisping lends his expertise to the UFC's broadcasting team, providing some of the best analysis on TV. He also drops regular YouTube videos related to anything going on in the world of MMA, as well as hosting a popular MMA podcast with light heavyweight contender Anthony Smith. What did you guys make of Bisping's title win? We're talking BJ Penn next. Stay tuned. The Prodigy was given that nickname for a reason. Incredibly, it took him just 3 years from his very first BJJ class to become a black belt. Most people take 10 years on average. A member of the UFC's Champ Club, Penn won the UFC welterweight title by submitting Matt Hughes back in 2004, before winning the lightweight title against Joe Daddy Stevenson 4 years later. Along the way, he beat legends of the game, such as Takanori Gomi, Matt Serra, and Jeans Pulver, cementing himself as one of the greatest champions in UFC history. However, he lost his last 7 fights in the promotion before retirement, and shortly after calling it a day, hit the headlines for some high-profile arrests. It seems as though he has sorted himself out in recent years though, as he's recently been discussing plans to run for governor of his native Hawaii. Good luck, BJ. Next up, it's GSP. George St-Pierre is a Canadian national treasure. Only beaten twice in his professional MMA career, he's arguably the greatest UFC fighter of them all. He won his final 12 UFC fights before retirement, then decided decided to return to challenge Michael Bisping for the middleweight crown 4 years later, which of course, he won. Like Liddell, St-Pierre has tried his hand at acting, and most recently appeared in the Marvel series The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as well as What If. He has also found work for the promotion that made him famous too, providing commentary in French for the UFC, just like his former foe, Bisping. What was the best performance of GSP's career in your opinion? Give us your thoughts below. Cardio Cain is coming through next. Cain Velasquez was literally one of the most terrifying men on the planet during his run as UFC heavyweight king. He twice won the heavyweight strap, beating Brock Lesnar the first time, which is worth a belt all by itself, then beating JDS for his second stint as baddest man on the planet. After appearing on a handful of Spanish-language TV shows, Velasquez was arrested earlier this year for attempted murder. His young child had been the victim of multiple sexual assaults, so he hunted the man responsible down and attempted to shoot him. Unfortunately, he hit the man's father and now finds himself languishing in jail, sadly. Who is the greatest heavyweight of all time in your opinion? Next up, it's Ronda, another one who can legitimately claim to be one of the main reasons for the explosion in popularity of MMA over the past decade or so. Rowdy Ronda Rousey was absolutely iconic at the height of her powers. After bringing her Strikeforce title across with her after the merger, the armbar specialist would win her first 6 fights in the UFC, all via stoppage. However, it would all come crashing down after back-to-back defeats to Holly Holm and then Amanda Nunes, but her status as one of the greatest female MMA athletes of all time had already been firmly cemented. Following her abrupt retirement back in 2016, Rousey appeared in several movies and TV shows before signing on to turn out for pro wrestling outfit WWE, whilst also appearing on various video games. What was the best win of Rousey's career in your opinion? Let us know below. We're talking Demetrius Johnson now. Stay with us. Widely regarded to be the greatest flyweight of all time across any promotion, Might Mouse won the inaugural UFC flyweight title back in September 2012 against Joseph Benavidez. What came next would go down in flyweight history. He defended the title 11 times to completely dominate the division for the next 6 years. However, he was dethroned in 2018 by Henry Cuyeto in a fight plenty of people had him down as winning. Following the controversy of the Cejudo fight, he left for pastures new, signing on with one championship, where he has been ever since. He even took part in a crossover mixed rules super fight with Muay Thai legend Rodtang, scoring a second-round rear naked choke win for the MMA world. Do you think DJ and Cejudo should run it back? Khabib is coming through now. Stay with us. One of the most dominant UFC champions of all time, Khabib Nurmagomedov's reign as lightweight king was relatively short-lived, as he promised his mother he would retire after beating Justin Gaethje. Of course, he easily beat him, adding to his perfect 29-0 record, which also included notable wins over people like Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, and Edson Barboza along the way. Since retiring, Khabib has focused on training fighters, and one of his charges, Islam Makhachev, will actually fight for his old crown in October at UFC 280. Whether or not he can be convinced to return to the octagon is anyone's guess, but we certainly hope to see him one more time. And finally, it's Matt Hughes. Two-time welterweight champion Matt Hughes is a legend of the game. Having first won the title at UFC 34 in 2001, he would go on to defend it 5 times before losing to BJ Penn. However, later that year, Penn would vacate and Hugh would win the vacant title again against GSP, defending it twice more. He would retire in 2011 with his status as one of the greatest ever welterweights intact. Since leaving the sport, he has hosted hunting program Trophy Hunters TV, whilst also appearing on Uncaged with Matt Hughes and The Takedown with Matt Hughes. Who is the greatest UFC champion in your opinion? As usual, thanks for stopping by today, and remember to tune in again next time when we'll be discussing all sorts of other interesting bits. And why not do us a big favor by sharing today's video with any MMA heads you might know. Bye guys!